I'm Adrienne, your sex positive bestie, here for sexy talk, real stories, and tips that just hit. Ready to play? Let's go. Let's talk lifestyle. But before we do, I have a question for you. Are you just as busy as I am? I know everyone's busy and everyone has a lot going on, but holy shit. I mean, just 1 week, 7 days flies by between, being a mom, being there with Mr., making sure I have quality time with Mr. Right, which also I learned something about myself recently that I'm going to talk to you about in a minute. Work and errands and running a house and volleyball practices and games and, taking care of Humphrey and all these things, like getting in enough steps per day and keeping up with my friends. Not to mention like just a little bit of downtime, right? All these things, it's really been hard to keep up with lately. One of my very most amazing leaders, someone I've worked with for 10 years. He retired this week and I went to his retirement party, and then I had an awesome opportunity to actually spend his last morning with him in my old office. It was a very special thing and it felt just like old times, the good times. And it's making me realize I was kind of emotional. It just is making me realize like how fast time is flying by. Okay. And I don't know. I just keep thinking to myself, like, is this it? Is this the way? Do we just run, go, and then boom, do nothing? Like, I don't know. Like, what are we all rushing for? I've just been thinking a lot about that. Anyways, another thing that I have learned about myself is that I seriously become a cranky ass bitch if I'm not getting laid consistently, regularly, all the time. It's a lot of pressure that I put on Mr. Right. I know that. And I'm trying to figure out how to satiate myself instead of putting all that pressure on him. And I know, yes, I have toys. I jerk off, whatever, but it's not the same. And I have noticed that like if I don't have physical connection with Mr. Right, like around 3-day mark, I start getting cranky, bitchy, and I have like these little outbursts here and there, and I'm feeling really guilty about it because it shouldn't be that way. And sometimes we have like, sex 3 days in a row. And then like even 2 days later, I'm like, oh, want to fuck again? Like we had incredible sex last night. And this morning I'm like, hey, you want to, like, I just feel like I am insatiable. I just could never, ever get enough. And I had like a little mentee bee this week where I was just like, I miss my boyfriend. Like I miss you. And, with schedules and all this stuff going on, it's just been kind of difficult. And I want to tell you something, Mr. Right, he just always like makes me feel better. And, I was in my head about stuff and just, I don't know, just maybe just being like a little bit of a bitch, but he came home and he surprised me. I was like, hey, what are you doing home so early? And he came in and he closed the door, and it was so funny. He had like this chef coat on and he took it off and was like dancing and like doing like a little strip tease. And I was like, he did the move where he like put it between his legs and was like, going back and forth. It was seriously so cute. And then he just like devoured me, went down on me, and he's like, really, really like, oh, it just feels so good. And, went to Pound Town and just had like a very intimate, so connective sex, right? Like it just felt really, really good. All was right? Like in the world again, my axis was back on, track. And it just, I don't know. It just made me feel so good. It's funny. I'm sitting here thinking to myself, like, I want to do that right now. But I'm trying to work on that. I think I mentioned it a couple episodes. Like, why do I get so cranky if I'm not like getting laid every single day? Like, it's not reasonable, Adrienne. Okay. When I am pleasing myself, I'm using my favorite toys from tracysdog.com. If you haven't tried any of their toys, I highly recommend them. They are some of my very favorite toys ever. The OG series, the Magic Wand, just my very favorites. And if you use code Cravers20, that's CRAVERS20, you get 20% off your entire order. So go over there to tracysdog.com and treat yourself today. All right, let's talk about lifestyle. My lifestyle journey I have shared many times on this show. And I basically was handed the lifestyle on a silver platter, okay? Through my podcasting, I met Kat and Ams from Two Hot Wives podcast, and they introduced me to a fantastic, amazing, supportive, awesome, positive group where I found my tribe. I've talked about it so many times. And, I was a unicorn for 4 years and it was amazing. It was everything you thought it would be. If you listen to the previous episodes, you know what I was up to. And then I met Mr. Right and everything changed. When I first met Mr. Right, of course, I told him, in fact, before we even met, we had phone conversations and I told him, this is what I've been doing and this is what I've been into. And this is a way of life for me moving forward even. Same penis forever, not for this girl. Okay. So, and he was super open to it. It was one of the things that really, really solidified my attraction and how I fell in love with him so fast is because he loved me for me and was not judgy or, didn't frown upon what I had been doing or, he was very interested in it and open to it. And it was awesome. Now, I feel like when we first got together, we kind of we went to a lot of events because he wanted to learn about the lifestyle and I wanted to introduce him to all my friends. So we went to meet and greets and happy hours and events like the Halloween parties. And it was so much fun. We even went to our first lifestyle party, which I talked all about a few episodes ago. And it was amazing and fantastic. The one thing I will say is that Mr. Right and I's lifestyle journey kind of failed to launch. With our, schedules and, being parents and, again, talking about this busy lifestyle that we're always in. Our group is about an hour away from us and it's hard. It's hard to make all the events. It's hard to meet new people. It's hard to go to the happy hours and the meet and greets because it's just so far away. I mean, there's sometimes where traffic is so bad that it will take 2 hours just to get there. And, on a Friday night and it's been kind of difficult. Another thing is that Mr. Right and I have just been spending time together. It's funny. Yesterday, we had a night to ourselves, which is few and far between, let me tell you. And I was so excited. And I actually told him, though, I said, all I really want to do is just have some porch beers with you, spend some time with you, and just hang out at home together. We love making dinner together and, watching movies or, like I said, porch beers, listening to music, just hanging out together. There's nothing else I would rather do. Even though we had the world at our fingertips, I was just I just want to stay home with you. Because he's my best friend and he just makes me so happy and we have such a good time together. And it was a great and amazing, fulfilling night. And it's just, that's the kind of stuff that's taken priority. So where Mr. Right and I are at in the lifestyle is we're not. So, and it's not we're not going to be open to that again. And I'll talk about that in a minute, but the group that we are with it's an amazing, it's hard to explain. I kind of don't want to put all their business out there, but in short, it's kind of not a club, because that's not like that. But basically you have to be a part of the crew, right? And then they have an annual fee because they throw phenomenal parties and they have venues and events and all these things. And it's super cheap for what you get. But Mr. Right and I were just we haven't even seen anyone aside from Mia and her husband who I've spent time with. I probably see them the most, and, celebrating her birthday. And Mr. Right couldn't even make it to that. It has been months since we've seen anybody. And we both were just can we justify this? We're not even really an active part of the group. And we couldn't even make it to the party this year, which we were super bummed about. Come to find out, I thought the party was next weekend and we're going to a wedding next weekend. So turns out we actually could have gone because we didn't know our daughter was going to be, staying the night at a friend's, but neither here nor there. It was just, it's not a priority for us right now. And the sex positive and amazing group that they are, it's just hard to find the time. I actually spoke with Ams from Two Hot Wives podcast last week or so. And I told her, I said, hey, next time I'm in the neighborhood, I am going to reach out to you and I would love to spend some time with her. And I'm just going to make individual efforts to see those that I love. And, it's just, I don't know. It's funny. Even Mr. Right and I were talking about it as I was making notes for this episode. And I'm it's not that we're out of the lifestyle. It's not that we're not ever going to, explore that again. Or maybe we can meet a couple next week and explore it then, right? There's no on or off switch for us, but it's just kind of not a priority in our lives right now. And so that's kind of like where we're at. And, I don't know. It's sometimes I think to myself, like, gosh, I want to be active. I want to participate. I want to be doing these things, but it just isn't something that we're actively searching out right now. And the cool thing about the lifestyle is that you can change your mind at any time, right? Like we can decide, hey, we're going to go to a meet and greet. Let's go explore, meet some other couples. Like and that could change. It was funny because Mr. Wright was like, if lightning strikes and we meet this magical couple that make this awesome foursome, because let me tell you something, finding a couple where you have equal compatibility, where you're both equally interested into the other partner as your partner is, it's rare, it's elusive, it's a very magical thing. And so, we'll see what happens. I actually told him, we're going to Antigua this summer. And I'll be bringing condoms just like I did when we went to Grenada. Like if we met a couple there and we hit it off and we're like, awesome, and they were open too, we would totally play with them. So again, it's not that we're out or we're not doing it anymore. It's just we're just not actively seeking it out, putting effort into it right now. So that's where we are. We'll see what happens. You guys had a lot of questions for me when it came to lifestyle and ethical non-monogamy and open relationships. And so I'm going to answer them. They're here for you today. And then I do want to talk about, because a lot of people ask for advice for anyone interested in ethical non-monogamy, the lifestyle. I'm going to talk about that. And, talk to you about like advice. And it's funny. I really want to talk to you about Zach. And I told him, I said, you got to come back on the show. Like his life has changed so much. And when I think about him, and I actually told him, he decided, I say he because it's kind of like he decided to open his marriage. And I told him, I said, Zach, you're making every wrong decision right now. Like everything you're doing in the lifestyle is like completely wrong. Like you're doing it wrong. And, his life has changed drastically since. I'm going to let him spill the tea on that. But yeah. So, all right. Answer questions. And then I'm going to give you some advice and talk all about that. All right. Can it work if one partner is into non-monogamy and the other is not? I'm going to say no. It's extremely difficult for that to work out. I feel like if you're not both on the same page, it's very cut and dry. You're either going to be in the lifestyle together or not at all. So it's funny, when I first met Mr. Wright, like I told him, I said, same penis forever, not for me. And that's something I'm always going to be open and, exploring. And, if he would have said, hey, that's just not for me, it wouldn't have worked out. And there's a few guys I dated when I was single, over time where they were like, that's not negotiable. That's never going to happen. And I was like, hey, I fully respect that and understand it, but this is where I'm at. It's not going to work. If I was with somebody that was not, if they were totally monogamous and they weren't open to things like that, it would never work out. I'd be bursting at the seams. And I will tell you, like I did an episode about cheating. I will never, ever, ever cheat again. It's a massive mistake. And so, yeah, no, I feel like it's both or none. Okay, how do you avoid catching feels? This is a question that I actually was most concerned about when I first was learning about the lifestyle. And what's funny is if you are satisfied and fulfilled in your primary relationship, if your foundation is strong and secure, and Mr. Wright and I were talking about this, sex is sex, right? Like fucking is fucking. And it's more about experiences and, exploring. And look, like everybody does something different. Everything is unique with another person. And what I like most about the lifestyle is the variety. Okay. Like that's the spice of life. And it's really fun to explore that and try new things with different people. Like that's why I'm so open to it. The catching feels thing, I practiced the slut protocols when I was single and doing this. And I feel like Mr. Wright and we never really navigated the lifestyle enough to talk about catching feels or avoiding catching feels. I think the slut protocols are a huge, huge way to avoid that. No sleepovers, limiting how much you talk, not having weekend getaways and stuff like that, like avoiding those type of imprinting circumstances. But can I say that I've witnessed people catch feels in the lifestyle? Absolutely. Have I seen people break up? Yeah. But the majority of the couples who have strong relationships and, clear communication with their partner, the catching feels thing really just doesn't happen. Now, that's not to say that I don't have a connection with somebody. That's not to say that I don't, like this person or enjoy this person. But it's like I'm not going to fall in love with them. Okay. All right. Do you ever get jealous? Of course. Jealousy is such a big topic in the lifestyle. One of my really good friends, she struggled with it, and she was actually very open about it with me. And she said, she was actually like reading about it, and she was like, I struggle really hard with jealousy. And when I think about getting jealous, this is something that I've been working on and looking inward at in my life, even in other aspects of it, is when I feel jealous, what does that say about me? Like, what insecurity is that uncovering for me? Jealousy is a signal. It's not a failure. It's not a terrible thing, but it allows you to look into yourself and say, well, why am I feeling that way? Right. My friend just bought a private jet and they're going to the Bahamas and they're doing all these things. Like, oh, lucky them. Like, I feel jealous because I'm not doing that. Right. Or, there's lots of different things. But so the jealousy thing, it's funny. I was very nervous. And even when our first play dates or whatever, I was very nervous of how I was going to feel to see Mr. Right fucking someone else. And luckily, and kind of what I thought would happen is I thought it was awesome, right? But something small triggered me. One time we were out with a couple and we were leaving the bar to go back to his place, and we swapped cars with each other. So she rode with Mr. Right and I rode with her boyfriend. And when we pulled up, she got out and she was wearing Mr. Right's hat. And I was like, what the fuck? I was like, why is she wearing his hat? I was like, that's weird. And that really, and I guess because it made me feel like, well, that's a girlfriend thing, or why would you be wearing his hat? Meanwhile, she's sucking his dick or fucking him. And I'm like, whatever. But she was wearing his hat. And that's what I was jealous over. And it was because I was like, hey, that's my guy. It's a girlfriend thing. And it's that made me jealous. So yes, I do get jealous. Of course, we all do, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. It makes me look inside. And then, another thing too, I think that it really highlights is, what are we insecure about in our relationship? That's something else I would think about too, if I started feeling jealous about something. What are your boundaries? Mr. Right and I used to have clear and cut boundaries. It's funny. I feel like yelling upstairs and saying, babe, what would our boundaries be now? They were, certain moves, certain things that we didn't want to see the other person doing, like breathing in and out of someone else's mouth, like that hot, passionate sex, right? He was like, I don't want to see anybody holding your hands above your head the way I do. I don't want to see anybody putting their hand over your mouth the way that I do. Those were definitely some boundaries. And then we were also, slowly navigating. Like I said, we don't have a ton of experience together, but, same bedroom, no solo play. So yeah, that's what they were, but we haven't really talked about it in so long. I feel like I want to talk to him about it now. How often do you get tested? So when I was active in the lifestyle as a unicorn, I was getting tested every quarter. And now that Mr. Right and I are in the lifestyle together, but I guess not really, but when we were getting tested every quarter and flip-flop, right? So I would get tested, he would get tested. I would get tested, he would get tested. It's been a while since we've had any experience with anybody else. And so I actually haven't been tested. I got tested at my annual in January. So anyways, just, as needed now. Do you currently swap with anyone? That's no, but like I said, we're not opposed to it. It's just, there hasn't been an opportunity. But when there is, we will definitely, talk about it and engage. It's something that's, out there and available for us when it presents itself. Is an open marriage a good thing, or is it toxic? It really depends on what you make of it, right? If I will say this, if you are going into E&M or you're opening up your marriage or relationship for to improve your relationship or to fix anything, you are going to fail miserably. Like I was talking about with Zach, it was kind of like he was like, hey, we're not having enough sex, therefore I need to step out. And it was kind of like an ultimatum. And I know that his partner was not that into that. That's a recipe for disaster. And it was. And so I think it can be as an amazing of a thing that you want it to be, or it could be super fucking toxic and you could be broken up together within a few months. It really just depends on what you make of it. I will tell you this too. In the lifestyle, the couples who do it right, the couples who have a strong foundation and they are all in together and they communicate extremely well. I've never seen couples more happy in my life. Okay. Like that's one of the things I really loved when I was single and in the lifestyle around these amazing couples. I love. And it really gave me so much hope. Like I would tell people, I'm like, I love your love. It was very positive for me to see that. And like I said, some of the happiest couples I've ever been around were in the lifestyle. Okay, next question. Where was I? Okay, do you have any during, or post advice for first timers? Yes, I do. And I'm going to take this question and I'm going to make it like a whole little segment coming up next. So I do have a lot of advice for that, and I'll answer that in a minute. I love that question. How do you deal with unwanted attention at a lifestyle party? You use your words, right? If you are afraid to tell somebody no, if you're afraid to tell somebody they're making you uncomfortable, then you should not be in those rooms. This is something that I had to learn, and it was difficult for me. But because everybody else was practicing it, I got the confidence to do it. No is a whole sentence, and you have to use it. And sometimes it sucks. Like I remember I was at this meet and greet and this guy was like, Adrian, oh my God, I love your show. I'm so excited to meet you. And his wife, I had actually met at another, like it was like a ladies lifestyle event, and I had met her before. And so she was like doing her own thing, and he was really, really, really into me. And there was not an ounce of attraction for him from me. And it was tough because he was like, I want to take you on a date. I want to do this. I would love to hang out with you. I know how open you are. I'm so excited to meet you, and I want to see you, and can we make a plan? And I was like, I just am not feeling that. I'm not feeling the connection with you. I'm so sorry. But, it's great to meet you. Great to see you in the lifestyle. And, we can have a beer, and they were playing beer pong. I was like, we can go play some beer pong, but it's just not for me. And it's hard, right? Like, I don't want to hurt somebody. I don't want to make somebody feel some sort of way, but I had to use my words because I was not into him. So if you're ever feeling uncomfortable at a lifestyle party, you have to immediately stop and address the situation. Otherwise, that's the worst thing ever. So, okay. Why is swinging so frowned upon? People will say, oh my God, you're a cheater, or how's that going to work? And even Mr. Right and I have had some shit about this, but I really do believe that it's just the stigma, right? It's so unfamiliar. It goes against all the societal norms, right? Like it's contrary to what you grew up expecting and what you grew up thinking that you knew. That's really what I think it is. I think it's lack of education. And I think people talking about jealousy and that stuff, like people are very miserable in this world, and it makes me so sad. So I think a lot of people just wish that they could do it. And so instead of saying that or working on that, they just put down what we're doing. Right. But I think majority of it is just because it's so unfamiliar, and it just goes against, so many norms that we were brought up to believe and think. So, okay, what is your biggest advice as a unicorn? My biggest advice, and there's so much, but I think the biggest lesson that I learned is to make sure you talk about everything before your clothes come off. When I say everything, I mean everything. Like, how are you going to feel if I'm deep throating your husband? How are you going to feel if, your husband acts differently with me? Or what if he really, really likes the way, or if I don't know, just get down to the graphic shit. I had a very interesting experience one time where we had not done that, and it got incredibly awkward. And let me tell you something, when you're in bed naked with another couple, you do not want to be experiencing that. So yeah, talk about everything before. That was a rookie mistake, by the way. Okay, what is one thing you would never do in the lifestyle? I would never play with friends. That's an easy answer for me. Okay, let's move on to my advice for anyone interested in ethical non-monogamy or entering the lifestyle. Now, in the lifestyle, there's all different types of ways to be in the lifestyle. I mean, some people just like to be around sex positive people, and some people just like to go to parties and play with each other and just be around the environment. The lifestyle is what you make it. I really can't stress that enough. And if you're not in a group that makes you feel that way, wrong group. All right. Like I said, I had like the mark was set so high with the lifestylers that taught me how to lifestyle. So there's lots of different facets, lots of different ways, lots of things that people are into. I would say, my biggest advice is to remember not to yuck anyone else's yum. That's a really big thing. Open your mind. Even if you think you're open-minded, like really, really, really expand on that and allow yourself. Because even me, I didn't realize how closed-minded I was about certain things. So anyways, and there's different types of ways, right? Like soft swap, which is like some couples that say only do oral with other couples. Full swap is when you have full penetrative sex with another person. Some people will only, play together, or they'll play solo. Some people have, same room rules like Mr. Right and I do, or different room rules. That's meaning like, hey, I want to play with these partners, and we're going to be upstairs, and you and your partner are going to play downstairs. I'm not going to be within eyesight of you. And that's something I think a lot of couples eventually progress to. That was not something I was comfortable with yet with Mr. Right. And so we haven't navigated that yet, but there's all different types of ways. I think the biggest thing too, well, God, all of these are big and so much you have to think about and talk about before you do this but I think a big thing is to know, what is your motivation, right? What do you hope to gain from the lifestyle? Are your goals aligned with your partner? What are your partner's reasons? What's their why? Because like I said, if either of you are doing this to fix something, or you're doing this to finally get what you're craving, or you're doing this because your partner, you're living in a dead bedroom, recipe for disaster. It's not going to work out. So truly, what is your motivation? It's funny. I was thinking about it for myself, and I need to ask Mr. Right that, actually. I swear I'm going to have a conversation with him when we go upstairs. But my motivation is really, it's for the exploration factor, and also just being around sex positive people just is so awesome for me. And I like to explore. I like to try different things, and that means different penises, right? Like I want to try and explore and learn and grow and evolve as much as I can sexually, because that's what makes me feel good. And so that would be mine. I'm going to ask Mr. Right what his is. I should probably figure that out. Okay, let's talk about boundaries and agreements, right? Like if you're going to be entering into the lifestyle, you must set clear boundaries and you must align on your agreements, right? Like, hard limits, soft limits, like what types of connections are going to be allowed? What are your rules of engagements? And talk about it, like, talk about it some more, and then talk about it till you're sick and tired of talking about it, and then you're probably ready to go. But the boundaries thing is a really big thing, and agreeing together on everything. Along with that, comes communication, right? Like it's massive in the lifestyle. If you can't communicate well together, you will be doomed. You have to have constant check-ins and be really ready to speak and accept brutally honest conversation, right? And then we're talking about jealousy. Like, how are you going to handle jealousy? How are you going to handle insecurities? Like, I remember I didn't want to ruin the vibe and be like, why are you wearing my boyfriend's hat, right? So I was like, okay, push that down, which by the way, that lump in my throat, the sick feeling in my stomach, it was there. But I didn't talk about it until the next day with Mr. Right because, it just wasn't the right time. And I talked to him about it, and it was hard for me because I didn't want to show him that I was insecure. It's embarrassing that I was jealous. Well, back then it was for me, but now I'm like, hey, and, remember again that jealousy is a signal. It's not a failure or, something that's negative about you. So you got to figure out, how are you going to handle that, right? And then how are you going to manage like the intimacy with the other, people that you play with, and, what happens if you get attached, and just constantly talking and communicating all the time. I will tell you this, Mr. Right is the first person that I've been in a relationship with where I feel like we can talk about any and everything. From the very beginning, I would say to him, like, my God, I've never communicated like this in a relationship. If you don't have really amazing communication in your relationship, then I wouldn't suggest getting into E&M or the lifestyle. Okay, another big one is talking about safe sex, right? Like, what precautions are you going to take? How are you going to talk about this with your other partners, and who's getting tested when? It's so vital, by the way. Like, remember, there's no such thing as consequence-free sex, right? So you have to be very careful and mindful of that. And it's funny because somebody's like, that's so unsexy when you're like, hey, when's the last time you were tested? If you're thinking that's unsexy, then you should not be fucking other people. I think it's the most sexy thing ever when people talk about consent and testing and health. Like that to me is a turn on. I had a couple one time who basically was just like, yeah, we don't care about that. We don't think about that. And we don't use protection. And, that is an immediate red flag. No. Okay. Something else that I would recommend is building a community for yourself, having some support. So there's online communities. Like I said, I was so blessed and so lucky to have an amazing group that I was brought into. But, you surround yourself with sex positive people. And by the way, once you start exploring into this lifestyle, they like pop out of the woodworks. I swear to God, like they are, like you attract them with your energy. But there's also books and podcasts like this where you can learn and keep educating yourself on things. Like I think building the community and having the support in the lifestyle is huge. I love meeting other lifestyle couples. And something I always ask is, what have you learned from the lifestyle? What mistakes have you made? Because I want to learn, right? Like don't allow them, I'll learn from your mistakes. Like tell me all the things. Having that community is massive. Okay. This is a big one. How will you manage social perception? And let me get real here, okay? My podcast, my lifestyle, putting my real lifestyle out there has impacted every aspect of my life. It has impacted my family. It has impacted my friends. It's impacted my career, okay? Like I got fired from a job over the things that I've said on the internet. And that's something that, I learned a lesson from, and it ended up being the best thing that ever happened to me. But these are real consequences, right? And you got to think about this. I always tell people, I'm like, look, if you can keep the fact that you're in the lifestyle a secret, keep it, right? Like I would not go shouting loud and proud as much as you want to. But man, the shame and criticism that you're going to receive from others is harsh. Like I've even heard from like other family members, like, oh my gosh, like she talks so much about you. Like she can't believe that the way that you are. And these people that are really close to me, and that were, and that sucks. Right. You got to think about things like, are you going to hide your relationship? And then what happens if it gets out? Like, how are you going to explain this to your children, to your coworkers, or even your community members? I know of a couple who got kicked out of their church because they found out they were in the lifestyle. The judgments are real, okay? People gave me a lot of shit when I first started my podcast, and they said, oh my God, you have a daughter. Like, what kind of mom are you? But my take on things is, our kids are eventually going to find out about sex and relationships and all the facets as well. They're literally carrying around little pocket porn machines on their phones, okay? We are raising children in a completely different generation, and the terms have changed. And do I want my daughter to listen to my podcast? No. Am I going to give her advice, on blowjobs or just any sex tips and all that stuff? Hell no, right? Like that's definitely not going to happen. But I do want my daughter to know that, being open and sex positive is a great thing, and expressing yourself and evolving your sexuality is encouraged by me, right? But it's tough, and it's difficult. I remember when I first started my show, like my show kind of impacted her life a little bit too, because the parent was like, well, we don't want you hanging out. And, she even said to me one time, she was like, Mom, they won't let me, come to the party because of your podcast. Like those words were being said back when she was like 8 years old. Okay. And that's tough. So really think about, how are you going to manage that, the social perception? And what are you going to do if, your friends and family and children, or, your community, if they find out? Like that's something to think about. Okay. Lots of talk about lifestyle. And, we'll see what happens in the future. Like I even told Mr. Wright, I was like, wouldn't it be awesome if we met a couple in Antigua and like hit it off? That'd be so amazing. But we'll see. All right. I just want to let you know that if you were looking for a community, or you're looking for a sex positive bestie, I'm your girl. You can send me a DM over on Instagram at Midlife Craving. You can email me midlifecraving@gmail.com. Visit my website. There's places to reach out. And I just want to say, I'm here for you. And, there's always safe spaces for people like us. So let's talk about the next episode. I've been getting a lot of requests, and I've changed my game a little bit too. So I am going to do Blowjob Bible Part 2. I'm very excited about it. I've been taking all my notes. Mr. Wright's been like, yes, talk about that. Yes, for sure. And so collaborating with him on things, and I'm super excited to talk about that episode. All right. Tonight, let me tell you what I'm doing. My brother's coming over, and we got these things called cave monster crabs. I've never even heard of that. I've lived in Maryland 44 years, my whole life, and I've never heard of cave monster crabs. So we're going to have a little crab feast tonight. Supposedly, they're like 1 pound crabs. If you follow me over on social media, like I said, on Instagram, I'm going to post about it and share it on my stories. I'm excited to try this and also have a couple beers and just have a nice, quiet ending to my weekend. Watch some golf, By the way, Bryson DeChambeau is my favorite golfer. I will see you guys on Friday for Blowjob Bible Part 2. Let's go.